Welcome to a Week 2 edition of X's and Omar, alongside Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. I'm CBS 12 Sports Director Matt Lincoln, and man, do we have a huge show for you today because of not only the fact that it is Patriots Week at Foxborough, but also a Week 1 game in Seattle that I think Dolphins fans are not going to forget really through this entire season, as Doug Baldwin caught a 2-yard touchdown pass with 30 seconds left to give them a 12-10 win and a tough loss for the Dolphins.
Should have took the field goal. 4th and inches at the 17. This will eat at me for the rest of the season because you basically squandered an opportunity to pull off the biggest upset in Week 1 because you were a confident coach, little bit misguided about who your team was, and you said, we're going for it on 4th and inches. They stuff you. You don't kick the field goal instead of taking the 3 points that would have sealed the victory for you. My issue, because you always take the points on the road, especially against a team with playing great defense. But there were other miscues, the Kenny Stills drop of
that's pretty good. We made it 45 seconds before we reached the Kenny Stills drop.
Of an easy 71-yard touchdown, but obviously it's not that easy when you're trying to catch an overhead ball and your body's a little. I'm not making excuses for him because the season is about fresh out of excuses. You also had a field goal blocked in the second half of the game. So you squandered 13 points. 13 points was right there for you. You dropped it. And ultimately you lost to the Seahawks 12-10, and you beat yourself. Now the question is, how many games this season are the Miami Dolphins going to beat themselves, especially against good opponents?
Well, that was a huge game. What do you think they learned about themselves in that game?
I think that they learned that they're probably a little bit better of a team than a lot of people are healthy. They're probably a little bit better of a team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They ran the ball better in the first half than I'd seen them do in the exhibition season. Then they abandoned it, which is the Dolphins' way. Adam Gase is supposed to change that. I think it showed us that you're a little bit talent-starved from a playmaking standpoint on offense. No receivers got the job done for Ryan Tannehill. No tight ends got the job done. Third downs, still an issue going back to last year. 3 of 14. That's not going to be good enough. And when you see what it does, when you're 3 of 14 on third downs and you've got so many 3-and-outs, that leads your defense to play 80-plus snaps. Now, an average NFL game, your offense should play 55 snaps, your defense should play 55 snaps. 80 snaps? That's 25 to 30 more than they should be on the field. And what happens is you physically wear out at the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, you're on fumes, and look what the Seahawks did.
Well, one thing that we did see that we didn't see all of last year was a touchdown drive by the Dolphins late in the game to either tie the game or take the lead. And what do we take away from that drive?
Ryan Tannehill has done that before. And even Adam Gase pointed out early in his career, Atlanta, he's done that against Denver when Denver. He can rally the team late in the fourth quarter and allow them to get the lead. Unfortunately, that was on the defense. The defense had 2 fourth down plays in that drive. Weren't able to get off the field. It has to get better from a defensive standpoint. I don't know how it's going to get better with all the injuries that they're battling right now. Earl Mitchell goes on IR. Mario Williams is battling a concussion. Jelani Jenkins is still fighting through that knee injury. It has to get better from a standpoint. Your defense has to be able to play with that same level of consistency that they had for 3 quarters, take it into the fourth, and be able to seal that game, especially when the offense gives you a lead.
Well, really, it was a 2-minute drill because they also gave up a field goal in the last 2 minutes of the first half.
Yeah.
What did you see that was different in defending against the Seahawks' offensive 2 minutes?
I think that Russell Wilson is one of the hardest quarterbacks to defend in 2 minutes because he can run and gain yards. He can produce big plays with his athleticism. And then Seahawks have a physical running game. I'm not going to judge them too harshly on those 2-minute drives, just be 2-minute drives that Seahawks had, because they're a very good team. And while there are no moral victories in the NFL, you should be proud of the way you played. You should be encouraged by what you've seen from a defensive standpoint. That defense looks pretty good with Mario Williams, with Kiko Alonso. Hopefully it continues to remain good. We saw encouraging things from Xavier Howard. You've got stuff to build on. The question is, how do you do it? And this week against the Patriots will be a good test.
We're going to get into that, of course, a lot going forward. But we need to talk about the other very large storyline that happened in the game was, of course, with 4 Dolphin starters took a knee during the national anthem. Arian Foster, Michael Thomas, Kenny Stills, Jelani Jenkins. What was their message, and do you think that fans are hearing it correctly?
I think that half a portion of the fan base, not just the fan base, half a portion of the nation is hearing it correctly, hearing that there are social injustice issues that are taking place in America that make certain segments of society feel like they're not welcome, they're not home, they're not at home, they're at risk. I know I personally feel that way. My life is different than others' lives just because of the challenges that I face by being a black African-American male. And I think that what they were bringing to light, the educational system. There are so many issues that impact this community. Now, there's another segment of society that feels like they're disrespecting America by not standing and having your hand at your heart during the Pledge of Allegiance, even though most of us don't stand and have our hand at our heart. We're just going through the motions. But especially on 9/11, they didn't feel like that was the right time. However, as Arian Foster says, when is the right time? Right. It's for those who oppose your message or oppose what you support, it's never the right time. And I'm proud of this generation of athletes, especially football players, because they are to remain anonymous. They are to remain silent. They're to wear their helmet and their number and go on the field, and when they're done with you, they'll cut you in 4 years and bring in the next batch of people who are faceless, people who lack personality and lack opinions. Athletes have served as spokesmen for the downtrodden and the people who don't have voices. These four athletes, they have a voice. They have an opportunity to address those issues. I just wish that they would have something that they would like to bring to light, bring to consciousness. Talk about the educational system and charter schools, how they're fraudulent. Talk about prison, the disproportionate amount of sentencing for the same crimes for African Americans versus others in society. Bring something to light that can help people create a little bit more awareness.
Obviously, with what we've seen with the outpouring of reaction from both sides on Twitter and all the messages that we get. The nation's very divided on whether or not this is the right thing for you to do.
Split 50-50.
It doesn't seem like locker rooms are.
No.
Do you feel like this is creating any sort of tension in not only the Dolphins locker room but across NFL locker rooms?
No, I don't think it is. And I think it's given power to NFL players where they feel like more players feel like they can raise their fist, or they can take a knee, or they can say that something is going on in America that makes me uncomfortable. And I think every time that they do that, and it shall continue throughout the season, it creates a dialogue and creates a little bit more awareness for people that, hey, not everything is right in America for some segments of society. And we need to start paying attention to this and looking out for them. And I think more people will eventually join.
Specifically on the Dolphins?
Specifically on the Dolphins, and I think throughout the NFL. There are more Dolphins than the four who stood up or sat down, kneeled down, that are in total support of this.
Right.
Just a lot of them don't feel comfortable enough in where they are as NFL players to take that stand.
Well, I think what we've seen certainly from Steve Ross coming out and saying that he's behind these players, and there's been no ill effects from an NFL side or from a business side against any of these. Colin Kaepernick's jersey's going, the jersey sales are going out of the, through the roof.
Yes, but there are negative effects. Brandon Marshall lost his endorsement. Michael Thomas doesn't have endorsements. John Jenkins doesn't have endorsements. Kenny Stills doesn't have endorsements. Arian Foster, I don't know if he has endorsements, but he's the guy who's taking the brunt of this. I mean, the one comment that I had, the segment of his interview where he was basically like, if you don't kneel, you're on your knees for your God. So are you saying that there's some level of disrespect for God if I'm on my knees for the national anthem? Right. And that's been retweeted 6,000 and something times. And every time somebody has their own opinions. Some of it's positive, some of it's negative. What happens is people who believe that this should be white America, their viral toxicity it spews on these players. And that's primarily one of the issues. I don't really state my opinion, or I haven't written anything on it, or I haven't tweeted about it, just because I don't feel like dealing with the racism.
Yeah.
I don't feel like dealing with the negativity. I don't feel like being called the N-word repeatedly, because people who want this to remain the America that they know and love, they want you to be silent. And I think that that's what you have to fight against.
And I think we're finding out, too, a deeper conversation about what America is and what America stands for.
Oh, I think this election is going to clearly show us what America is and what it stands for.
All right. Well, we
Scary
went
times.
way longer than that than I thought that we were going to. We're going to get to some more questions. Actually, let's move on right now and take our first Twitter question. It comes from Josh Gray. Seemed like we played more aggressive on defense. Are we close to not being a finesse team and being a physical team?
You do not become a physical team overnight. It just does not happen. And while you might have 21 new players on this 53-man roster, they don't all just all of a sudden become macho tough guys. Tony Sparano built a physical tough team. He handed that to Joe Philbin. Joe Philbin built a finesse speed team. Now you hand that to Adam Gase. You cannot go back to just being a physical team overnight. It takes time, effort, drafting, free agency, resources in order to build a physical team. I like what I saw from the defensive standpoint, especially the front line. Jason Jones, Andre Branch, Mario Williams, all new players, brought a physicality to the game. That was encouraging. Jordan Phillips as well, a holdover, brought a physicality to the game that was encouraging. Offensively, you got to get there as well. You got to match that tone. There are not that many players on this team that are bringing that physical toughness, and it starts with the offensive line. They've got to get physically tougher. They've got to be able to command the line of scrimmage and own the trenches. When you can do that and you can run successfully when you want to, then you can say you're a physical team.
Is it going to be tough for them to really do that when Pouncey's not in there? He's their leader.
I thought Anthony Steen did a very good job. I saw him on the second level on a number of my reviews, number of running plays. I don't have a problem with Anthony Steen as a starting center. If you said he was Jameel Douglas or Billy Turner or a draft pick, I'd say, good job, draftee.
Right.
I don't care that he's not a drafted player. He played with that Alabama toughness, and I was quite encouraged.
All right, let's move on. The Dolphins didn't leave with Seattle without some issues, some casualties. Earl Mitchell re-aggravated his calf injury. He's on the IR, out for at least 6 weeks, maybe the entire season, right?
Yeah.
Possibly. And Mario Williams suffered a concussion. What's the update?
I'm not sure if Mario Williams is practicing today. My partner, Chris Perkins, practice is taking place right now. Mario Williams is going to be sidelined with a concussion. He's not going to be practicing. Concussion protocol, once you're in the concussion protocol, it takes a while. Matt Moore was explaining to me the process that they have to go through in terms of the testing that they have to take. Their brains are scanned at the beginning of the season. Your brain level and activity has to get back to when you were scanned before training camp. You've got to pass a number of memory tests and brain tests, and that takes at least a week. So the fact that Mario Williams is not practicing right now, and then you got to practice for a couple of days before they'll even clear you to play. So the fact that Mario Williams isn't practicing in one of the 3 practices, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, he's not going to be playing against the Patriots.
That's not good.
Yeah, definitely not good. Parker is still battling the hamstring and is not practicing. That's not good.
No. Oh, man. Okay.
Man, damn. Devontae Parker is a very key contributor to this offense because the 3 receiver sets is what this offense's bread and butter is. And right now, they don't have a 3rd receiver to play. Yeah. Leonte Carrera was out there, but he was just out there.
Right.
Jakeem Grant is not ready to play. I'm not even comfortable with him as a returner, but he's not ready to play wide receiver. And Justin Hunter just got here a week ago, and it's very disappointing when you see the 2 tight end package and you see that it's kind of womp-womp.
Right.
And that has to be utilized a little bit more just because you don't have 3 wide receivers. Just so disappointing.
All right, let's take our next Twitter question. Comes from Vernon. Did Jordan Phillips change your perspective after a decent performance?
I don't know if my perspective has changed. It's altered a little bit. I did not know he could play the way that he played. And here's what's the issue that Jordan Phillips, he's always had a lazy label. He's always had a motor question. And I wasn't certain that he was going to be healthy enough or durable enough or have the stamina to play 50 snaps, especially with Earl Mitchell down. He played it and played it well. 4 tackles, a half a sack, That forcing that fumble, even though he didn't force it, it was a bad pitch, but he hit the linebacker. It was a beautiful play and allowed Kiko Alonso to recover a fumble. If Jordan Phillips continues to play like he's playing in game one, you have a stud. The question is with him is it gonna be a consistent thing?
He has such a ho-hum disposition. You know, he's and
Paul Soliai had a ho-hum disposition.
You got to turn it on. You got to turn it on.
You got to turn it on. Here's the thing that I think is encouraging about game one. He probably looked at the situation and was like, you know what? I'm a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Hey, look, did you see what I just did?
Right.
And he had a dominant game. And I'm like, if he can play like that next to Sue on a regular basis, I don't even need him to do it for 50 snaps. Give me 20 snaps of that. You got something.
Well, I mean, when you got Mario Williams on one end, you got Cam Wake, playing situationally on the other end, and you got Ndong and Sue, and then it's just you.
Sue's going to take on a center. All you got is a guard. All you have is a left guard. Beat that man. Now, you're not going to beat Richie Incognito consistently like that, but you should be able to beat people on your same playing field, the Dallas Thomases of the league. You should be able to beat them 15 to 20 times.
And he's always around with Sue. They're talking a lot.
They're friends.
They're friends. So, you hope that a little bit of that intensity that comes from Sue is getting through to Phillips. Gage asks, what is a bigger area of concern, defensive line depth or secondary depth going forward?
It's got to be defensive line depth. I mean, they signed Chris Jones today. I thought he was a player who deserved to be on the 53-man roster. I don't really see that much of a difference between him and Earl Mitchell. I was never a huge Earl Mitchell fan. Those who follow me know he's just there.
Right.
Chris Jones can play. Julius Wormsley, I think, is still an intriguing prospect, intriguing player. But the ends now. With Mario Williams down, Terrence Fede comes up. And Terrence Fede hasn't shown you that he is a pass rushing presence. I really haven't seen much other than special teams, and he's battling a knee injury. So now you're putting a heavier load on the snap count on Cameron Wake, which I'm okay with.
Right.
Understand, the biggest issue that I had, other than not kicking the field goal on 4th and inches from the 17, the biggest issue I had in the Seattle game was Cameron Wake was not on that field for that final drive, with the exception of 3rd down plays. I'm sorry, but in critical moments of those games, you need your best players out on the field. And stars like Cameron Wake, who is a 4-time Pro Bowler, has made so many plays throughout his career that has sealed a victory for you or has changed the tide of a game. He should have been on that field every single snap. I don't care what point he was in his Achilles rehab. Hell, if you don't practice him on Wednesday to give him the rest, he should have played every single one of those snaps, and it was very disappointing to see that it didn't happen. So now I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with Mario Williams. Cam Wake is not going to set the edge like Mario Williams. I can admit that Cam Wake is not that much of an edge setter right now, but he should be on the field more.
And to answer the second half of that question, the secondary, a couple things we were worried about. Xavier Howard on that one edge, he didn't give up any too big plays, and then the combination of Issa Abdul-Quddus and Rashad in the back looked pretty good. Abdul-Quddus made an interception, a couple nice plays, and Russell Wilson had his career high in pass attempts.
Really?
With 43. That was
I did not
43.
know that. You
career
dropped
high.
some nuggets on me today.
I'm dropping them.
You dropping them.
And the Seahawks only scored 12 points. So that was impressive.
Here's the biggest issue that I saw with that game. If Russell Wilson sees that he should pick on Bobby McCain, Bill Belichick will also see that he will pick on Bobby McCain. Now, Bobby McCain's going to get heavy action anyway because he's in the slot. Patriots throw primarily to the slot. Now there's Chris Hogan, 7-Eleven out there. The Patriots have a team full of slot receivers.
Right.
So it's going to be a challenge for Bobby McCain. He needs to show that he can respond. And I wrote a column in today's Sun Sentinel that young players will always get a chance to prove themselves. And if they fall short, then you can't do it. Bobby McCain in the next 4 weeks, just now because Russell Wilson showed that he's the man to target, Bobby McCain's going to get a heavy dose of action. He's either going to prove he's an NFL player or he's going to be out.
All right, so let's get a little update on Mike Pouncey's hip injury. We talked a little bit about Parker already, and Jay Ajayi. Are we going to see him this week?
I don't know if you're going to see Jay Ajayi, and here is the reason why. It's not because he had a run-in with Adam Gase. It's not because he has an ego and is disappointed with the fact that he was demoted. The reality is, Jay Ajayi is probably the fourth best back on this team. Even though he had the starting spot,
Right.
he was given the opportunity because of his work ethic to prove that he deserved the starting spot. We all saw he did not. Now, the question is, after you've showed that you don't deserve the starting spot, what do you contribute on special teams? What do you contribute as a pass blocker? What do you contribute as a pass receiver? Not a good pass receiver. Okay, pass blocking, not that great. And doesn't really do anything on special teams. Isaiah Peeds does something on special teams. Great pass catcher, decent pass blocker. Kenyon Drake, great pass catcher, does a lot of special teams work, doesn't pass block. So that means
Damian Williams.
Damian Williams is a hell of a pass blocker,
Right.
pretty good pass catcher, and he get one of the top 5 special teams players.
Right.
So that means all 3 players outside of Arian Foster play ahead of you.
Right.
That means Jay Ajayi might not be active for
Even
a while.
if Jay Ajayi was the second best running back with the ball in his hands, which we're not really sure he is.
He's
not. He's not. Then what does he do? Not much.
He's right now, Jay Ajayi, he should be spending his week as a punishment and as to indicate where he is, serving as a practice squad running back. And I'm just being honest with you because I'm sorry.
Do your
but
best
that's where-
LeGarrette Blount impression.
Yeah, that's where your 5th back is. Now, you want to get off that practice squad, start tearing up the first team defense, and then we'll think about it.
All right. Let's move on and let's talk about this game this weekend because it's always huge when the Dolphins are going out to Foxborough.
Oh, is it really?
Haven't won there since 2008.
Yeah,
The
Wildcat.
Wildcat
Wildcat.
game. If that sounds like, if you feel like that was forever ago, it's because it really was forever ago. But no Tom Brady, and that didn't seem to really impact the Patriots too badly as Jimmy Garoppolo led them to a win over Arizona, one of the best teams in the league. So what
For
is
those who know, I have 4 quarterbacks that I have fallen in love with during the draft process. Starts with Joe Flacco. Then you go to Kirk Cousins, Colin Kaepernick. And you know who the 4th quarterback is?
Jimmy Garoppolo?
Jimmy Garoppolo. Love him, moxie, toughness, smart decision maker. I'm not saying he's going to be Brady. I'm not saying the Patriots can move on from Brady and bench Brady. But Jimmy Garoppolo's got a lot of intangibles and tools, which showed you in probably pulling off the biggest upset of week 1.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
Now the question is, now that you have a book on him and what he likes to do, can a defensive coordinator like Vance Joseph create a game plan to take away Jimmy Garoppolo's strength or what his wheelhouse is and force him to do other things? Now, it's only been, if they were playing Jimmy Garoppolo in Game 4, I would say that Vance Joseph has a better diet of better sample size of what Jimmy Garoppolo likes to do. But right now, we're just going off exhibition games and Game 1. He's not an upper echelon quarterback, so he's beatable. The problem is Foxborough. It's an intimidating environment. Not as intimidating as the Seattle, because that place was loud. You were there.
Yeah, it was.
That place was incredibly loud, probably the loudest venue that I've ever been in. We couldn't hear ourselves in a press box that was closed. So that tells you how loud it was. But Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not unbeatable, and especially if he doesn't have his wide receiver, Gronkowski.
Gronkowski's tight end, right?
If you take Gronkowski out the game, it's any man's game.
Okay, well, we'll find out. Let's take some more questions. Fanatic, aside from the average numbers, what did you really think of Ryan Tannehill's game, specifically that go-ahead touchdown drive?
I was encouraged by the go-ahead touchdown drive. I've seen him do it before. It was impressive. I saw that run play. I was like, run it. It was a great call. He's a smart quarterback, and this is what people got to understand. Ryan is a smart quarterback. So if you show him something, he's going to put himself in the right play. Now, the question is, can he execute that right play? And that was a great run. Now, he got leveled a couple of times. He's a tough son of a.
We say that every week. We say, say what
tough,
you will about Ryan Tannehill. He's a tough guy.
But he's not a runner.
But he's not a runner.
He's not a runner. He's athletic, but he's not a runner. I would like to see him run a little bit more. It enhances the chance and risk of injury. I would like to see him roll out left and right, bootleg, roll out to extend plays, have either or options in terms of reads that he likes to throw. If it's not there, run with the ball. I think this is a perfect game to test that out because the Patriots they don't play that well on the edges. They're not like Seattle where their tenacity and toughness creates tough plays on the edges. Extend plays, buy yourself some time in the pocket, buy yourself some time to create big plays by extending plays, being on the move. And I think that the QB read option is a perfect play to use against the Patriots.
I have always felt that, and we've talked about it, is what's wrong with Tannehill's game, and partially is that he doesn't do well on third downs and doesn't generally do well in the fourth quarter. But another big thing is that he just doesn't feel the pocket well, and that he has that athleticism to run, but he doesn't ever use it to scramble. You know, it's in terms of, I mean, how many big runs has he ripped off for a first down on 3rd and 4 when everything breaks down and he moves out and he's looking down the field and he decides
it
to
happens, but not enough.
Not enough.
I think that any game that Ryan Tannehill runs for a first down 3 times a game, and converts a third down 2 times a game with his legs, is going to be a win.
Sure.
Because it's cheating a little. And when you have an athletic quarterback like Russell Wilson, you're allowed to cheat. That's the whole point of getting an athletic quarterback.
Part of what makes him who he is.
His athleticism has been underutilized his whole career. I was disappointed in Adam Gaze's play calling from that standpoint. I didn't feel like they used the field enough. I didn't feel like they used play action enough. Maybe because the running game wasn't really working at an optimal level in the second half. But when you put Ryan on the move, that's when he's at his best. That's what needs to happen against the Patriots.
Carlos asks us, how do we get the tight ends involved? Deion Sims and Jordan Cameron aren't cutting it. Any potential moves now or wait till the offseason?
I think a very easy trick to get the tight ends more involved is to put them in the backfield. I'm putting Deion Sims on the line, and I'm having Jordan Cameron come out the backfield, serving as a lead blocker sometimes on running plays, and then skirting out the backfield on flares as a passing play. Easy catch, easy 3, 4, 5 yards. Sometimes have him run down the seam. I think you need to put Jordan Cameron in the backfield, make him an H-back, and then you will see the best of Jordan Cameron.
All right. Brian asks us, how did you think the Dolphins rookies fared in Game 1?
Laramie Tunsil still has some work to do as a run blocker. Thought he was decent, adequate pass protector. I think Xavier Howard, he was tested. They went after him. He showed that he can respond, and they said, okay, let's start picking on Bobby McCain. Let's go after somebody else. Xavier Howard's going to be a pretty good pro. Jakeem Grant, I thought he had some interesting returns, a little bit productive. What worries me is that when he gets hit, he really gets hit because he's like a $155.
That's right.
So it's going to be scary looking for a little while. But when he gets open field, he's dangerous. Kenyon Drake didn't really play that much. Jordan Lucas played on special teams, but yeah, the rookie class is doing okay. There's nothing. There's Xavier Howard is the stud of this rookie class, and hopefully he continues to play like a stud.
All right. John asks us, how come Miami can't find 2 starting caliber guards and New England takes 5 guys off the street and makes it work?
I don't know if Miami can. I said if Miami can't find 2 starting caliber guards. I think the issue that you have consistently throughout this past 3 seasons is that you cannot get Brandon Albert, Mike Pouncey, and Juwan James all healthy at the same time. I call them the unicorn games. It's happened, I believe it's 7 times throughout their career.
Oh, wow.
7 times since 2014. It has produced a 6-1 record. You got to get the unicorns playing together. And right now with Mike Pouncey sidelined by that hip injury, I don't think he's going to be available for the next 2 weeks.
All right, let's take predictions here. I've taken a lot of flack because I picked the Dolphins to get blown out in the opening week, and they did not.
Somebody's giving you flack?
Can you believe that?
I know.
People on the internet are not nice. Can you believe that?
They certainly are nice.
Okay, so what about this one? To Foxborough. Do they end the losing streak?
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Your boy, Jimmy Garoppolo.
It is my boy, Jimmy Garoppolo.
I thought Paxton Lynch was your boy, too.
Paxton Lynch, there is 5.
Okay,
Paxton
okay,
Lynch,
all right.
yes, you're right.
Okay.
Correct. Paxton Lynch. Love me some Paxton Lynch.
Right.
I'm going to predict a 24-20 Dolphins victory.
Wow.
And here's the reason why. Oh, damn, without Mario Williams, that's going to be tough.
No, you already said it out loud.
I know, I already said it out loud. Damn it. I think this Dolphins defense has more in store. I think with Mario Williams, they could potentially put forth a top 10 defense. I see the pieces. Now, Everybody got to stay healthy. Everybody. I'm not talking about any backups. I'm talking about Jelani Jenkins, Kiko Alonso, Cole Amisi, Rashad Jones, Xavier Howard. Everybody got to stay healthy. But if that happens, I think they have the potential to be a top 10 defense. And I think that even though they're not going to have Mario Williams in this game, I think you're going to see more of Cameron Wake. And Cameron Wake is going to be a nightmare for Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why I'm predicting a 24-21 Dolphins victory.
All right. I don't think that Adam Gase is ready to outcoach Bill Belichick in Foxborough just yet. So I'm going to take a 23-13 Patriots win.
Ooh, not another blowout?
It's only 10 points.
It's
only 10 points.
Okay. What is the line on the game? I'm very curious.
Well, we'll get to it in X's and Omar overtime. So if you're watching us right now, hang with us, and we'll take some of your questions. Everyone else, thanks for watching. Of course, you can listen to the show on iTunes podcast. Just search for X's and Omar.
And the replay will be up later today.
Awesome. So hang on with us, and of course, you can always send us all your questions using the hashtag XOmar on Twitter. Thanks for watching.